6:42 morning to you, watching and listening to Breakfast with Stephen and Anne.
Let's take a look at today's front pages. The Times draws attention to the imminent rail strikes, as well as Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's upcoming Netflix documentary.
The Mirror has the royal crisis deepening.
The Sun says kiss means war, as Meghan and Harry's trailer sabotages Will's and Kate's US trip.
The Mail gives light not only to Harry and Meghan's documentary, but also Matt Hancock's revelation about potentially releasing prisoners during the COVID pandemic.
And finally, the Star's front page says it all, doesn't it? Publicity-shy couple share most intimate secrets with 8 billion people.
Yeah.
That's quite a headline.
Yeah, it's all you need to know. Let's go through the papers now. Today, senior reporter from the Eye, Benjamin Butterworth, and broadcaster Liz Kershaw. Good morning to you
Good morning.
both. Good morning. Benjamin, let's have a look at the Sussexes in the Times, should we?
Yeah, so this is the Netflix documentary that we've known is coming for a long time. And in a mysterious twist, the first glimpse of it came out just as Catherine and William landed in the US. And you know, if you've not seen it, it doesn't reveal that much. You see a series of photos, but then Prince Harry makes this comment where he says, no one sees what's happening behind closed doors.
Oh, funny enough, that's the same for me.
What, in your life?
Yes, people don't see what happens in my house.
Exactly, and I think some people feel like maybe we've seen a bit too much of behind closed doors with Harry and Meghan. They don't seem shy of sharing, as the Daily Star front page mocks with that.
And yet they left royal service because they wanted privacy.
Exactly, and I think a lot of people will find it provocative, the timing. Now, the Sussexes have said that this wasn't an attempt to trip up, William and Catherine. They say that Netflix decided when it was going to come out, and look, it's possible that Netflix were the people that chose this provocative time, but I find it hard to believe that if you're Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, that you don't have a considerable degree of control over these things. They're clearly in the power seat in a situation like this, and it has caused such a furore, and it feels like they're trying to publicly have a spat yet again, which, I don't really like the idea of taking sides on either of these. I just think the whole thing is quite uncomfortable and not particularly kind.
The Times actually makes the point that they're almost behaving like the Kardashians.
Yeah, I mean, that is kind of how it's like. There's always has to be a storyline, there always has to be controversy, and for a couple that, as you mentioned, didn't seemingly want to have their private life in public, well then why are you saying that no one knows what's going on behind closed doors?
Oh well, yes, exactly. The Mirror, Liz, is looking at all of this and saying the royal crisis deepens as a result.
Yeah, I understand the importance of a constitutional monarchy, but I do think, and we'll probably talk about this more during the morning, that as long as you've got a royal family in a monarchy, you'll never have levelling up properly, you'll never have equality, there'll always be grace and favour, there'll always be privilege, there'll always be entitlement. The one saving grace of that lot has been their good grace and their dignity and their class, and now they're just behaving like trailer trash. It's not just not kind, as Benjamin described it, which was very kind of him. I think it's downright deliberately malicious. And it's obviously Netflix will have a huge PR budget and PR machine to maximise the interest and awareness of this series. They'll have picked the timing quite deliberately. Now, Harry and Meghan, I don't know if they've had experience before, but sometimes, and I got my fingers burnt many years ago, if you give a bit and then you find that a newspaper, for example, will get right in there, and then you lose control, and then it runs away with it, and it's out of your hands, and suddenly all your family's upset, and you're begging the newspaper, please don't, and they're not interested. So I don't know how much of this is deliberately malice on the timing on their part.
Well, they would have been daft if they didn't get copy approval of the book and approval of
I'm talking
final cut of
I'm
the
talking about the timing.
The timing, no, they might not.
They might not have, but it's so undignified and malicious. I mean, what the hell was the slide? What was done to them?
That was so appalling.
It's just I can't comprehend that they would do this to your own flesh and blood. No, I can't.
Very odd.
It puts the king in an impossible position now, because everybody's basically saying you've got to strip them of their titles. You've just got to now. This is so appalling. And yet that is his son.
Yeah, it's a personal attack on your own flesh and blood, but it's also an attack on our constitutional democracy, our way of life. And they just keep coming, don't they? Even the census this week, the ONS tidied up the census from last year, and confirm the figures. The headline that was used was a minority now in this country are Christian. 46%. That's nearly half. 22% said no religion. I was one of those. I ticked the no religion because I don't practice anything. I still have morals and an ethical code and beliefs, and actually the Muslim and Christian ethical codes really fundamentally aren't that much different. So it was just the way it was. Then they were saying there shouldn't be bishops in the house, something to school. But everything this week, all our institutions
Are being attacked,
undermined. It's like relentless. It's like a concerted campaign.
But it's also like the headline coming out of that census, actually was almost deliberately stirring things up.
Yeah.
So
Headlines
what?
for you.
Yeah.
Let's have a look at the Mail and Matt Hancock's revelations.
That's the next thing.
So, Matt Hancock, who's, I think, the only person that shares more than Harry and Meghan at the moment, we seem to know everything about him, he's revealed that during the early stages of the COVID pandemic, there was a plan to release prisoners because they thought it would be easier to manage them, because there was a problem that COVID spread quite badly in prisons. And of course, when you've got a lot of people in close quarters, some of them often aren't in the best of health, it was, a real issue that was going on. Of course, later in the pandemic, you had suggestions of putting people in prison for not getting the vaccine. So clearly there was quite a U-turn on the effect of prisons and COVID. But he's revealed that was a plan, and that he had to resist that thousands of prisoners could have been let out, not at the time they were meant to be.
Well, the rest of us were locked down.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
exactly.
odd.
Yeah, if you'd done a crime sufficient to get you in prison, that might have been the only way to not be locked up.
With the very low security, open prison style people, it's not going to be your murderers and your rapists getting out.
But I mean, you don't go in prison if you've done something meaningless. You have to have done something that we've deemed that you shouldn't be, wandering around Asda every day. And I think, this is pretty incredible insight, but it kind of makes me slightly uncomfortable that we're getting this information, in the wake of a celebrity stint in the jungle.
Well, he's bringing out a book, isn't he, which apparently the Mail online is going to start serialising from 5 o'clock this afternoon.
Oh, can't wait.
I wonder what it's full of.
There is going to be a COVID inquiry, a proper, thorough, democratic process for people to come forward and say what happened and do an assessment like you had the Chilcot inquiry for the Iraq War and Tony Blair. And that is the appropriate way in which this information should be
Do
shared.
you think he's trying to set the narrative before the inquiry?
I think you're a very cynical lady, Anne Diamond. I think that might well be the case. I think they're right.
Interesting. Let's have a look at industrial strikes in The Guardian, Liz. There could be a joint Christmas strike within the NHS.
Yeah, because the different unions, whether you're a paramedic, ambulance driver, a nurse, a cleaner, a porter, now they're trying to have a combined effort, coordinate the days. I'd just like to point out, because I haven't really seen this flagged up. There was an interactive tool in the Telegraph yesterday online where you could put in your hospital, nearest hospital, and see if they were on strike, because actually the majority of trusts, there are 162 across England and Wales. I'm not sure how many there are in Northern Ireland, and Scotland's Sturgeon's supposedly doing her own deal, but there are 162, and about less than half of them are actually affected because the strike ballot didn't reach the threshold. No. So good news, Stephen.
Well, good news.
Twixt Milton Keynes and Northampton Hospital, neither of them is affected.
No.
So it very much depends where you are. Even across the whole of Yorkshire, it's only really Leeds hospitals.
But December the 20th is a different kettle of fish, isn't it? Because there is going to be coordinated health workers strike action.
Well, yes,
December
if they
the
can
20th.
organise it. I was talking specifically about whether the trusts, the staff in the hospitals, not all, you know, don't.
I'm surprised
I'm
it's
saying
been-
please don't panic, everybody, because actually it's not as bad potentially as is being reported, because the strike is not that solid. It's like I've been saying that last couple of weeks. Our post lady is not going on strike. Rent in the area, she says they don't want to strike.
No, but can she actually deliver any mail if it's the sorting
It's
office?
not being, if it's not being given to her to deliver.
Well, we could do it in the village. We could give her our mail and she could take it 3 doors up for us.
Well, she
keep
could
her
do.
busy, yeah. I haven't got
do.
your card yet.
I posted them yesterday.
Right. Oh,
Well, and that's what the next thing they're
Not
warning
yours,
is, even
either.
if you post it now, it won't get to its destination by Christmas. That's what they're warning.
Yeah, this is the front
Is
page.
that another scare headline?
Well, I mean, this is the front page of today's iNewspaper, so the iNewspaper wouldn't scare you. It's pretty damning. So some postal workers from around the country, lots of different parts of the country, so it's not isolated to one depot. They've shown pictures of piles and piles of trolleys full of post, way more than they're meant to deal with. And so there are strikes of postal workers going on, 6 days of strikes over pay and conditions. And they're saying that if you send your Christmas card now, it's probably not going to visit, and that they've never seen such a mess at December as the one that we've got in the post service now.
Well, you've got to keep your fingers crossed on that one.
Got to
We're
keep
out of time.
smiling.
Liz, Benjamin, we'll see you a little bit later on.
Thanks.
Thank you.
That'll be why my bin never got to me.
Oh, is it still not got
It's
any
still
bin?
not got to me, no.
Oh, that's weeks overdue.
It is, literally, now.
Yeah.
But to put me rubbish.